got donuts and Pellegrino juice.
This may be the most mediocre podcast ever.
I thought, no. I said, is it in there?
And it had knives in it. Let's go.
And then you leave just looking like a mess, but you didn't even do anything in that 2 hours.
So, and I remember saying, no problem, I got piano fingers. That's what I said to them.
And Butters, they do nothing.
I was like, how's it going? I don't have a gun. Do you have a gun?
Oh my God, I'm crying.
All right.
That's it.
We're
Live?
in going. Welcome back to the
Oh, you're
Good.
going for it, eh?
No, I don't. I'm not doing that. I already decided that I'm like not going to be the welcome back to the thing
You're not the hype guy?
I can't do it. I mean, it never sounds natural when I try to do it.
Yeah.
It just sounds like I'm trying too hard.
Yeah. yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does everybody agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today we got Jim Dhillon from Remax Elite.
Remax Elite, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as most of the people in the real estate community know you as Windermere Jim.
Windermere Jim.
Windermere Jim.
Yeah.
Hashtag Windermere Jim.
Yeah.
Plug. How do we come up with okay, obviously, like, do you live in Windermere? Is that
I did live in Windermere.
You
My
did?
office is in Windermere now.
okay?
Right? And yeah, it just came up. You know, I used to overthink social media.
Yeah.
I was like always being really careful what
Like all of
should I
us.
post, right? And then one day, to be honest, I was listening to, it was Groundhog Day. And it was like they're talking about Pakistani Phil and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I get out of my car at Southgate Mall and walking. I'm like, hey, my shadow. Right. I'm like, I guess that means 6 weeks of winter. Like, I should post that. So I take a picture. I'm like, what am I going to call myself? So I went through everything. Edmonton Gym, whatever gym, Southside Gym. I'm like, they all sound stupid. I'm like, Windermere Gym. That sounds good.
Does
Windermere
sound
Gym
good.
sees the shadow. 6
Does sound good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I really liked it. Yeah.
That's pretty good because
Yeah.
I think like branding is such a tricky thing, or somebody kind of makes something like awkward, but Windermere Gym comes across so authentic, and now it's like what everybody knows you by. And it's just like, and how it comes about, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. It's honestly the best branding I always find is just when you're not trying to brand.
100%
It's
agree
just,
with that.
right?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so true.
Yeah. I mean, like, even for Justin's, like for his, like, for the stuff for his dad and all that kind of stuff, like, that's like one of those things that just comes naturally. It's not something that you would like really plan, right? Or anything like that, right? It's just one of those things that just kind of falls into place. So that's cool. Actually, I really like that, how it's just like on the spur of the moment, you're like, well, I don't really know what to do, so we'll just do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I caught on, and Justin, I love your stuff you do.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I appreciate hearing that all the time. And it you know, it's one of those things like, hey there, how are you? It's pretty simple, but it was my way of incorporating my dad into my business, and then people kind of relate to it, or there's that authentic connection. It just make everything feel so much better about like what we're doing. And so I really appreciate hearing that. So thank you very much.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So you guys kind of know each other, right? Like from like when.
Well, I knew Jim like just prior to like real estate just a little bit, and then I met with Jim, I guess now 8 years. I guess I wouldn't have thought it was that long.
Yeah.
When Jim was considering getting into real estate, we kind of had a little talk. And
How'd you discover this weirdo?
Yeah, it was actually his wife worked with my ex-wife, and that's how I discovered him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I got together with him. He gave me some awesome advice, which was great. And I knew a couple other realtors too, but I'm a really weird dude. I like to do a lot of background because I want to make sure it's the right thing. I don't really do things halfway.
Right.
Most people tell me that, and I don't. Some people say, "Oh, I'll give real estate a try." There's no trying.
Yeah.
If I'm deciding to do it, it's going to happen and it's going to be successful. So I really wanted to make sure I had my ducks in a row and I knew what to expect. And everybody gives you a different opinion of what to expect.
Totally.
And then you kind of mesh it all together and really know what to expect.
Yeah.
I find, right?
Yeah.
So, and Justin was great. So thank you, Justin.
oh, absolutely, anytime.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say, like, people say that they want to try real estate. Because I heard Richard Robbins one time say, you don't try real estate tries you. So
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most true statements I've ever heard at the end of the day. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's just like, real estate is not one of those jobs. It's a simple job, but it's not easy, right?
Absolutely.
That makes
Oh, no,
sense,
it's,
right?
well, that's why they say, like, if you make it out of your first 2 years of real estate, then you have a good chance of, like, it being a career.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think it's something pretty staggering. Like 50% of the people don't make it out of their first 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive. It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Pushes you out of your comfort zone for a lot of people too. So yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we've all reached the 2 year mark.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, before we started this podcast, actually, Jim, you were giving us some of your insights on how you felt the real estate market was going to go in the next little while here, and just like your thoughts on it. And I found it super interesting. And I was like, yeah, we should probably talk about this because I think I really like your opinion on it because it's super positive, and I think it's like it makes sense, and it's like it's got a good like era to it of like what like realistically could like we could be seeing here in the near future for the market. So like give us your thoughts. Like what do you think? How do you think things are going to be going here in the new year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really think the new year is going to be very positive for real estate. And as the year goes on into the spring and summer, I think it's going to get busier and busier and busier. And when the interest rates eventually come down to, 5% or even under 5%, even if they go 5%, to tell you the truth, I think people will start buying again. And, a lot of people there's a lot of buyers out there right now, right? There's a lot of buyers of less inventory. So last month there was inventory was down 21%, sales were up 12% month over month.
Wow. I didn't know those stats.
Yeah, there's a shortage of inventory right now, right? So that's why it is a good time to sell right now because of the shortage of inventory. And as we go on, there's going to be more and more buyers coming online as the interest rates come down. And that inventory shortage is going to just get worse and worse, which will drive prices up. And even if people wait till spring to list, there's going to be an extreme amount of buyers that have been waiting to buy coming online in the spring. And it's going to, again, cause a shortage of inventory, which supply and demand is what dictates pricing.
Absolutely.
Right? So, So, and, about a year and a half ago when we had the supply and demand issue and prices were going up like crazy, we had multiple offers, people were bidding 60 grand, 80 grand over this. It was crazy around here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was very short term.
Yeah.
It was only for 2 months. I remember calling people and saying, hey, if you want to sell, you were telling me you might want to sell, now is the time. Right? And they're like, okay. They seem to not really believe me, and they don't believe it until they hear on the news, it seems like, right? And then after that month passed, the news announced it, and then they were like, oh my God, it is busy, right? So then they're like, okay, we're going to get the house.
Ball was right.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, the news is always a month behind.
Yeah.
Right? They don't report what's happening today. They report what happened last month, right? So then what happened was they're calling me, and they're like, okay, we'll get the house ready. By the time they got the house ready, it was over. Right. So then you're calling me another month later, and I'm like, buddy, you're done. Right. Next time I call you, you need to react.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're done. Right. So, and they did okay still, but, they missed that peak.
Yeah.
Right. And it was because they didn't believe it until they heard it in the media. Right. And I believe that's going to happen again in the spring.
Yeah.
I'm trying to buy a property myself right now. So be cut into leveraging that. There's two ways to go about it. You can, get the high, lower price now with the higher rate, or you can get a, lower rate later with the higher price when they go up.
Yeah.
And the best way to get both best of both worlds is to buy now, go variable or short-term mortgage, and then lock in later at the lower term, and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So I absolutely believe now is the right time to buy, and prices are going to go up, and the real estate world is going to be crazy.
Yes, I agree with you because like Alberta, Calgary is already seeing like a boom, and Edmonton trails Calgary usually all the time.
Yeah.
And already this month is my busiest month in the whole year, like especially in a small market like Devon, where like we have no inventory, and the prices are lower than Edmonton. We're getting the huge increase of buyers that are coming in with low inventory, so the sellers are really good. Like we've been moving properties out there very fast lately, and we're seeing that. And I think as announcements keep coming and positivity comes, those Ontario, BC buyers that are coming are just going to continue to come and flood. And
I'm glad you mentioned Calgary. Like, there's about an average of 10,000 people per month coming to Alberta. 60% is provincial migration,
Right.
40% is immigration, right? And those people that are coming to town, a lot of them were going to Calgary. And they were going to Calgary because of the location, close to the mountains, right? And that the price difference wasn't that much, right? They were still saving a lot of money from where they were coming from.
Right.
But when I started, the difference in pricing was 100,000 for an average house in Calgary and Edmonton, and now it's 200, right? So at some point, if they're coming here to pay less money, they're going to see that difference,
Right.
and they're going to come to Edmonton and over Calgary because of the savings, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's going to happen. You know?
Yeah. Well, another thing that, Justin, you mentioned too is positivity. And that's a good thing because, like, Jim, how much do you feel like just confidence in general plays into this for buyers and sellers?
I think real estate and honestly, a lot of cars, a lot of items are all sales are based on consumer confidence, right? When confidence is high, real estate is very busy. When confidence is low, people sit on the sidelines and are unsure that they want to make the right move because it's a huge investment, right?
Totally.
It's the biggest investment of their life, and if their confidence isn't there, they're not buying, right? I believe real estate is emotion based, right? I've always believed that. I believe a realtor's job is to manage people's emotions. The realtor needs to manage the seller's emotions, and the buyer's realtor needs to manage the buyer's emotions, and make sure that they come together. Right?
Totally. Yeah.
And when somebody's buying, it's very emotion based as well.
yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
wow. Okay, Windermere Gym is great. Like that brand is good. I think you got to go like real estate encyclopedia gym. Like you know your
You're
stuff.
full of
man.
it. You're
I
Like,
definitely buddy.
it's
That's
very
awesome.
impressive.
Well,
Like,
just even like
I mean-
pulling out the statistics
Yeah.
and stuff like that, like I'm impressed. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, holy crap, man, I got to get on Jim's level
I know.
of real estate here because, like, for your ability to be able to like keep an eye on what the market's doing and the interest rates and all of these things and factor that into like seeing the writing on the wall to be able to call your clients to say like, hey, listen, you got to get on this now. Like, that's something that I feel like a very small percentage of like realtors just in general do, like, on behalf of their clients. And that speaks to what you said about like when you go into something, you're not half-assing it, like you're all in, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of your work ethic when it comes to that. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm a nerd, right? Which helps a lot.
Yeah.
I love politics, so I'm very much into politics. Most people hate politics. I love politics, right? I kind of find it like my soap opera, right? I love it, and it's the meshing together of politics. It's the meshing together of stats. It's meshing together, of things that are going at the Real Estate Association, which I was a big part of. And still am.
Yeah.
And
How long were you on that again?
I was a board of director for almost 3 years, and I was on the member services committee for 2 years. I've been on the technology committee. I've been on I love the government political action committee, and I've been on a ton of them. I've basically done everything there, and hope to do it again soon. And
Awesome.
and it's meshing all that information together,
Yeah.
and giving people the right advice for that.
Well,
Nice.
I think that's huge, right? Because like I think part of our job is where information is power, right? So that's where your clients are going to benefit the most is because they're informed the most. Or a lot of realtors, they might scan news or get blurbs, like little snippets of like this information that's passed to us, but they're not really spreading awareness very well or educating buyers very well. Or it's clear that you're doing that. So
And I appreciate that.
that's really like
Yeah.
I guess real estate board Jim needs his own page of just
Real estate
billing
board
us.
Jim.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 15 names for you by the end of this podcast.
Yeah, we need to get these stats from
Yeah.
him more
I
often.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's huge, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Jim. Appreciate it. Okay, so that'll be a little bit of a segue here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for educating us.
Yeah, no doubt. I know, I feel dumb. I feel dumb next to you, Jim, just not knowing shit. But no, that's super awesome though. I can appreciate the fact that you go that extra mile, and I honestly that's what what all of our clients deserve, right? Is somebody who's actually willing to take the time to educate themselves and know what the market's like. That's a big part of the service that we offer, right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So anyway, okay, so moving on. What are we gonna jump into next, Justin?
Well, Jim's been doing this for 8 years, so I know he's got a pretty funny story. Probably everybody
Yeah.
experiences something.
Yeah.
I do have a good one actually. Yeah. So this happened probably about 1.5 years ago, and it was a closing day. A really nice family. We show up at the house. As usual, I got my signs and stuff because I want to take some nice pictures of the family, and the kids hadn't seen the house before, so it was a really exciting day. This is the best part of being a realtor for me.
100%.
I get emotionally involved in it. I think it's such a huge deal, people buying a house, probably because of my background. And sometimes I'm more excited than the buyers, I'll be honest with you, right? So we show up at the house, we open the door, we go in as usual, and kids are excited, they're looking for their rooms. I'm like, oh, it's kind of dark in here, so I'll open the curtains. Go to open the curtains, and somebody comes out of the basement. A lady comes out of the basement and says, "What the frick are you doing in my house?" Didn't use that word. And she was like, "Get the heck out of my house." Didn't use that word. Right? And I'm like, what? Right? It was like a deer caught in headlights. Like it was, I did not expect that. Right?
You're checking the highlights.
Oh
to see if
yeah.
you
I'm
got the
like,
right
what the
actor.
heck is going on here? Right?
Yeah.
And finally I'm like, and I'm really typically good when crazy stuff happens. I just calm down. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, it's closing day today. Did you not know that? Did your realtor not tell you? Didn't your lawyer tell you? Right? She's like, this is not closing. What are you talking about? My brother bought me this house, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Right? So I'm trying to comprehend what the heck is going on here. The family is like, oh my God, right? Right? And then she walks around into the kitchen. I follow her in there, and then I'm on the phone. I start calling the other realtor, right? And I call the other realtor. I'm like, what's going on here? And then he's like, no, it's this. And she's making a sandwich. She starts making a sandwich, right, with a regular knife, right? So then she's like, I'm like, she's not making that sandwich properly. Is another thing I'm thinking, by the way. The jam and peanut butter were way off. But anyway, that's beside the point. So she's like, I'm talking to the other guy, and he's like, no, this is weird, blah, blah, blah. And then for some reason, I'm like, this is a homeless person, right? This is, right? So then I'm like, hey, guys, because she had a knife in her hand. I'm like, can you please go wait outside, right? And let me handle this. And the husband stayed in, the wife and the kids went out. And I was like, luckily I've worked with homeless people. I volunteer quite a bit at Boyle Street with Renard Salit. And, I had some experience, and I could tell that she was relatively harmless, right? But just, she had all the right answers because I was pelleting questions at her, right?
Yeah.
Like, where'd you get this? Or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She had this was a street smart person. She had all the right answers, right?
It's not her first rodeo.
No. So then I'm like, okay, you know what? We're going to call the police and see what's going on here. And, if this is your house, we'll work it out, right? So then we both go to the front. I call the cops. And by the time I called the cops, she gets her stuff together, right? And by the time they got there, she took off, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so it was very exciting. Of course, they were very shaken up, right?
Yeah, I bet.
Luckily, I was able to call in some favors and get the locks changed right away. And I got a cleaner friend in who cleaned the house 100%. But still, it's
How
an
did she
uneasy
get
feeling.
in? How did she get in?
Here's what happened is the old owners didn't think it was a big deal. They locked the door and then they put that last key in the mailbox.
Oh.
Right? And I'm assuming she saw the sold sign on the front and then checked the mailbox. And
Right.
she was probably there for, it looked like 3 or 4 days. Yeah.
She was pretty street smart then, because if she knew that was the key to the house and knowing all that, Man, there's a few things about that are just like wild to me, like the conviction that she came up with, just like
Oh,
jumping in your face, being so certain, and
Yes.
it's like, what are you doing?
Yes.
Like that would
Yeah.
throw anybody
oh
off,
yeah, yeah.
right? And then after that, just like straight to making a sandwich.
Yeah,
You know-
making her sandwich. I'm asking her questions. She's firing back every answer, right? And she had all the right answers.
Yeah.
And she was smart, right? And
Yeah,
and that's when somebody lives on the street and they're people think they're not smart, but they're very smart.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
They know exactly how to get out of situations and
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, they're survival mode like
Yes.
all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's crazy.
So they can think on their feet like that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good story.
That is a good
Yeah.
story. We haven't heard, well, no, I don't
Well,
think we've had that one yet.
Not like that. No, Janine had squatters.
Yeah.
I found a kid in a closet.
Yeah. So it's
And-
always like,
yeah.
again, this is a recurring theme. It's either random people that are in a house that are not supposed to be there,
Yeah.
or cats. These
Cats.
are the two things that seem to be the most problematic things in real estate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cats
Yeah.
are problematic. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm so worried about the cat getting out.
Right?
I can't focus on anything else.
Literally, it's like when you're looking at a highlight sheet and you see, please don't let the cats out.
Yeah.
Immediately, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
I just melt. I'm like,
Yeah.
God, now I have to herd a cat, which is like literally not my best.
No, nobody's good at it.
Nobody's
No.
good at
You
it.
can't get good at herding cats.
No, you
No,
can't.
you
It's,
can't.
that's why they say it's like herding cats, because it's not an easy job.
Yeah. Your cat is now an outside cat.
Yeah.
That's, you're selling your house, your cat is now an outside cat.
Yeah. I told you before. Did I tell that story before where I chased a cat around the neighborhood for like 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to cancel like 3 showings because the
Oh.
cat got out, and I had to like friggin' try and corral it and get it back in the house. It was the worst. But anyway, awesome, Jim. Thanks a lot for that one.
That's a good one.
That's pretty awesome. So in our industry, we have to deal with a lot of people, and we find that most realtors have some pet peeves in the industry. So do you have anything that comes to mind that grinds your gears in our business?
I'll tell you, I do have something. Well, I have a few things that grind my gears. I won't lie to you.
You say
Start the
it. You
list.
say it like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
get
no,
this on
I've
podcast.
got a few things. Trust
This
me.
is weighing on
But
you.
this one here, honestly, this is I hate. So when you show up to a condo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the realtor hasn't marked his or her box,
Yeah.
and there's like 25 boxes there, at least 10 usually, right? And you
Yeah.
can't find the box. Like it makes us look like monkeys.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's so true.
like it's so like I warn people now when we're going there,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, this might take a few minutes, blah blah blah. I have to book extra time
Yeah.
to find the darn key,
Yeah.
right? Between showings,
Yeah.
And the biggest part is it's so embarrassing. It's
It
so
is.
embarrassing
Yeah.
for our industry. If nothing else, I am very protective of our industry, of other realtors,
Sure.
and when somebody does something like that, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And the person's behind me, they're like, "Well, don't you know what it is?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, it's one of these." They go, "You want to pick?"
Yeah.
Right? I get them involved. To tell you the truth. All right.
Make it a game.
I make it a game. Okay, let's pick. Okay, you pick one, and I'll pick one.
All right, everybody gets to hold one set of keys.
Yes, and then I hate it because the other part is the other realtor is getting this notification that I went into the key, right?
Yeah.
And there's many aspects of it that are wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So I would say that's my number one pick.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
And you know what the funny thing is that when like realtors listen to this, they're going to be in 2 camps. There's going to be a whole group of realtors that are like, yeah, we're with you, Jim. We hate that person. And then there's a whole other camp of them that are like, what's the big deal? And they're the ones who don't mark the key boxes.
Well, I feel like those people, they get there and their lock boxes aren't marked, and then they see 100, and then they put it on. They're like, their problem now.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just
That's
like
exactly
well,
it.
I will tell you, I am not shy about calling whoever that realtor is,
Good.
and I am not shy about telling them
Good.
how I feel about it.
Good.
And it's wrong, and it's not the right thing to
Yeah.
do, and it makes all of us look bad.
Well,
right?
we need more of that in the industry though, Jim, too, because like people need to know when they're like that kind of shit happens, because most of the time nobody gets a call. It's really just some realtor going on to YEGRE and just like bitching about it. It's like posting a photo and then complaining about it. But nobody knows, like that realtor doesn't even know that they're the ones who caused the issue in the first place. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not a good way if you want to sell that listing. I mean, to put me in that mood and this buyer in that horrible mood before they hit that is not the right way. Like I said earlier, real estate is very emotional.
Sure.
And to have your emotions where you're frustrated is not a good place.
It's all based on first impressions, right?
Absolutely.
That seller doesn't have the control of that part of the first impression.
Yep.
So, you're going to be in there and you're going to be like, oh, that's a water stain, that's a water stain.
Yeah,
You're not helping them out as much as you're already in a mood. But,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's not even just like marking the lockbox, it's also labeling the keys. Because if we go see a condo,
100%.
a lot of times you're seeing like 2 or 3 units.
Mhm.
So then if the key isn't labeled, I take out all 3 of the keys. But then I'm like, okay, well, this one's not labeled. So front right pocket is unit 310. Back left is 405. And then I got to remember my order when I go to put it back in the lockbox, right?
You know what happened to me once? I was north side, deep north, east side. I did a showing condo, blah, blah, blah. Put them back left. I live in Windermere, or near Windermere. I went back to Windermere, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, did I put those keys in the wrong box? Right? So I drove all the way back, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Took them back out, tried the keys, put them back, and they were in the right boxes.
Yeah, but you went off. But you would just that thought that you might have screwed somebody else up.
Yeah.
See, and that's like that speaks to your character too, because like a lot of realtors would have just been like, it's somebody else's problem. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you're like, no, I'm going to go all the way back there. You know what I mean? To make sure that somebody else doesn't have to deal with my screw up kind of a thing, right?
Well, I mean, and it's not just somebody else. It's the impression their client is going to get that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're going to take out their key. They're going to go to the door. It's not going to open. And then the client's going to be like, realtors are morons.
Yeah.
Like, why would they do this? Like, why would we put the right key in?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that reflects bad on me too.
Totally.
Right? Like nobody says that John from Timbuktu Realty's an idiot. They say realtors suck.
It's just realtors.
Yeah.
Right? So
in general, it's
we're right, and I think we all need to take that to heart. We're representing an entire industry and each other.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Well, I have it too, where it's like I just have this like fear of always leaving a door unlocked, and I do it at my house too. Like I'll block up and drive away, and then like 2 minutes down the road, I'm like, I don't know if I locked the door, and I go back almost all the time. Like I'm always going back and checking like locks and stuff, and like I just have that fear so much.
Well, you know which one resonated with me? It was a meme where it was like there's not too many bigger fears than when you get through a whole day of showings and then you are driving and you feel something in your pocket and you reach in and there's a random set of keys.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, where did these come from?
Yeah.
Which door did I not close?
Or
Right?
like I've gotten home and you empty your pockets, you put your keys, and then there's another little single key that bounces out, and you're like,
Wait a second.
Wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm far from perfect, right?
Sure.
I've made mistakes for sure, and I'm sorry for them. But at the end of the day, you just apologize and own up to it,
Sure.
and then move on. But at the end, it's those self-caused, things that where you know better and you shouldn't do it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, and that's the thing is our industry's fast paced. That these little slip ups occur, but it's how we solve them, right? And deal with it. That's where
Exactly.
the positivity in the industry will come from.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. It's like when you talk to another realtor about like not labeling the key boxes or something like that. I mean, you don't know what's going on the other side of that realtor, right? Like that could be a brand new realtor. Nobody told them that they were supposed to do that. That's their first listing, right?
You don't
So
know.
I mean, you have to come into that with a level of couth and like understanding that it's like, okay, well, you have this listing here and just want to let you know your key box isn't labeled and it's hard to figure it out, right? So there's definitely lots of facets of communication with us as realtors that we need to take into consideration too.
Well, thanks for pointing that out, because typically I'm not very understanding.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great point you just made.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I could be more understanding.
Well, when it's
myself.
something that annoys the crap out of you, right?
Yeah.
It's like we always just think right away, we're just like, you should know better, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, most of us should. but there is a small percentage of us that maybe just don't.
Yeah.
Right. And we
Makes
just
sense.
have to remember that too, right? That there are some of us that, because I know that there's new realtors that I deal with in our office all the time that's like, they get like blasted by realtors on like regularly, right? And then I get phone calls from a realtor who's like crying, being like, I don't know what I did. And I'm like, listen, you didn't do anything wrong, you're just learning, right? And then somebody
Yeah.
didn't handle it properly, right? But that's, like you said, man, it's just one of those things that we all just kind of go through it and we learn it, and hopefully we can all be better on the other side.
That's a great point. And at the end of the day, we're a peer-driven industry,
Yeah.
right? And the way we treat each other does matter.
Totally.
Oh, it's huge, right? Like our relationships, like if me and you were to do a deal, we know there's like a level of respect, and like we're going to work together
Yeah.
in whatever facet to make sure the clients are happy.
Absolutely.
And that's where it goes with everybody. If everybody just had that approach where it's not between us and there's no like hostility, it's going to serve our clients a lot better, and the industry's just going to look more positive about it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
feedback is so huge, and you just hope everybody can take constructive criticism to continue to be better.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are all really good points for sure.
Yeah.
So, what are we on next? Are we gonna jump into Get Human? Do we have anything else to talk to him about? What do we?
Well, it's up to Jim if he wants to talk
Yeah.
about anything else. But
Yeah.
no, we can
Do you got
nomination.
anything?
Yeah.
Anything
no,
on your
I
mind?
think I'm good.
Okay.
We'll save it for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Part two.
Wow,
yeah.
shit, like I
Absolutely.
said, I mean, now after having you on here, I'm like, oh wow, like we need Jim for our real estate.
No, you know
knowledge.
what? Where Jim comes in next is after like the forecast for the next year.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I won't
Yeah.
attend the forecast because I have like ADHD, and to sit through like a 3-hour presentation, I'm gonna
Remember
bow
when I-
out, and
remember
I'm
when
just
I
gonna
used-
invite you back here to fill me in on what's going on next
Remember
year.
when I used to drag you to that all the time?
Yeah.
I used to be like, hey Justin, let's go to the forecast. He'd be like, okay. He'd show up and he'd be like,
No.
why did I do
Why
this?
Justin did after my second year in real estate.
Uh-huh.
I went to the forecast. After the forecast, he did a review of the forecast.
Oh,
You remember that?
I-
Well, I remember.
was it a video?
Was it the
No,
one he?
It wasn't a video. It was a written review,
Oh, okay.
right? And it was excellent.
Oh.
It was really, really good. I
That was
remember it.
before ChatGPT too, so I was really one of my.
I was like, man, I gotta start doing stuff like this. This is great. Yeah, so it was really good. So
Nice.
when you did attend them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I that helped me out a lot.
Well, that's cool to hear.
Gave me a great idea.
That's funny, right? Like, is like we post so much stuff and we never know like what's received, what's read, and stuff. So it's always like really cool when like somebody picks out like one certain thing that
Yeah.
which I probably put a lot of effort into.
You did.
when it's
I
like
could tell you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then so now I feel good about that post.
Well, I mean, I do it now. I
Yeah.
do it every year because of that.
oh,
And I know you
that's
put
cool.
a lot of effort in
Wow.
because it takes me time to do it.
Well, that's
A
pretty
lot.
cool.
Yeah.
Well,
And you had it out the next day. Like, I'm like, how does he do this overnight? Like,
Well, it's because if I don't do it that day, I forgot it already.
yeah,
I
he's a
took my little-
cyborg.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like continuing on the pump Justin's tires up train.
Oh.
It's your favorite episode ever, isn't it?
This is good, right?
Yeah. No, but I remember too. Actually, I can't remember if it was from a forecast or just from like a market stat thing. I remember you did this video where you had like a desk that was like glass, and you can write on it with dry erase markers, and you did like a time lapse video of like all the like just an overhead shot of all of like the market and just like what was happening in the market, and you were drawing and like
Yeah.
doing numbers and stuff, and I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, this is such a good idea. Now I'm like looking at my desk, it's like a big giant piece of wood. I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever, I'll just share Justin's video.
Just share. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool when like people remember certain things like that. I guess I should do those again now.
You probably should.
You guys are really pumping my tires
Yeah.
on a day. I
Yeah.
will admit that I feel like so good because this is my first mustache, and you both haven't said anything.
Oh, yeah.
I've been
pumped about this thing.
creepily
Oh,
trying
man.
to avoid looking at it
No.
for the whole
This
time.
thing is
too.
fine, man.
You know, my mom said if you can't say anything nice.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you,
Yeah.
Jim, on that one.
This thing is the best. I love this thing.
Well, let's hope.
All right, I'm not ashamed.
Yeah.
Oh, we
What's
got to
the
bring
date?
him back down to earth.
It's
Yeah.
the 30th
You-
today.
you
We're
knocked-
pumping him up way too much.
You knocked me off, Jay. Yeah.
Gotta take you down a peg or two.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Jim. Well, let's jump into your Good Human nomination here on the Good Human podcast. We like to recognize people who we think are exemplary people in the community, and we love for the whole idea is for people that we know to nominate other people to like that they think are good humans, because we feel like there's a lot of people out there who are just awesome who don't get the recognition, right? And one of the things about that is that they don't really care. We know that most of those people really don't care to get the recognition. They don't need that like that spotlight for people to shine on them, but we want to do that for them because we think that they deserve it. So
Yeah. And your nomination will go into our panel where we will award some of these nominations with our package, which is a Good Human hoodie. But we also have sponsors. Nicole Roloff,
Yep.
is that how I say her
Yep.
last name right? She's a mortgage broker. She's donated a gift card to every winner. Same with Paramount Inspectors. They've nominated as well. So it's a really good little package that I think these people will feel really good about receiving. So
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. So this was very difficult for me because I have some really, really amazing people in my life, you know, and it's hard to pick one, to tell you that. I'm very lucky. I don't know how these people still are my friends, but they are. Most of them are much better humans than I am, I'll be honest. But I have to pick one. So I picked my best friend. His name's Shannon Rurchak. Just a quality human being, would give the shirt off his back to anybody, help a complete stranger in need. Definitely is always there for me if I need him. Yeah, just an amazing human that goes out of his way to make people feel good. And I mean, I love the heck out of the guy, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
awesome.
And I don't think love is too strong a word.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
definitely an amazing human, and that's why I love him. And like I said, I have many people in my life like
Yeah.
this. I'm very lucky. But you know, I have to pick one, so I'm definitely picking Shannon.
Shannon, that's awesome.
Huge shout out to Shannon.
Huge shout out to him. What's his last name, by the way?
Rurchak.
Rurchak? Okay.
We're going to get you to spell that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once we get this episode out, then we'll definitely tag him in the post and that kind of thing, so that we can know that you. Sorry, he can know that you shouted him out, and we can throw him in the ring for
Thank
a
you.
Good Human nomination. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Well, thanks for sharing all those stories and Shannon with us. And
Yeah.
that was a really fun episode, actually.
Yeah. This has
Yeah.
been a really good one. I like the fluidity of it, and it was just like it went really good. And Jim, you're an awesome conversationalist, and this is the first time we've ever met, so it was kind of cool to just like have this real, authentic conversation with you for the first time on a podcast.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah.
The podcast everybody's talking about. It's the Kelsey brothers,
Oh, yeah.
Joe Rogan, and this one
Yeah.
is third, I think.
This is third, yeah.
We're jumping up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool to hear.
I think we have at least 3 listeners.
Yeah.
now, so-
Yeah. We're getting there.
And my mom is one of them. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for listening, Mom. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate your time, buddy. And thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Peace.